Alrighty, guys. It is 3:30 this Wednesday, September 17th. Time to wrap it up. And so far, it looks to me like Powell, he did a quarter point great cut. That happened kind of as expected. And we got the little whipsaws up and whipsaws down. Yes, then stuck at the mean until he started talking. And I wasn't too impressed with the initial stuff he was saying, and market wasn't either. So they were heading lower, and they looked pretty gnarly for a second there. We almost closed the gap on the downside. So I mean, I don't know quite how you would get short on this one without getting knocked straight out of it. But if you manage to get on a short trade as it took out that support area at the 66.40s, that's exactly what they talked about in the last update. If you manage that, you would have had a great trade going there for a while. And if you didn't take a profit on that one, you would have been just flat out shaken out because they reversed it right back to the mean again. So pretty crazy stuff. I opted not to trade this. It's just a little bit too volatile. It's just a recipe. I mean, if it's like a straight selling pressure going on, and you can tell it's like, yeah, this is just going in one direction, then you can be more aggressive on that short. But they were whipsawing it back and forth pretty hard. So not totally surprised to see that reversal though. Back to the mean and then some right up to the high of the range, to the 75s. That kind of took me a little bit by surprise. Nasdaq also way up there, so. I would say that we all reversed back again, and at least it didn't look like he totally threw cold water on this whole thing. And I think we're in a pretty good shot, at least to stay range bound going into the overnight. So I would start that. I would watch this very carefully. If they close down here below that 66.40, we're staying on the short side. Otherwise, we'll just stay range bound and look to buy against that 50, 55, and the 40s for rotations up, and looking for shorts against 75, 80, maybe yeah, up to that 88, 90 for rotations back down. So pretty much range bound getting started. We'll see what happens in that last half hour, but because they could take it higher, and if they close at or above that 88, 90s, we're probably going to look for early strength. But at this point, they had me going there for a while when they started ripping out this gap, and so we'll see how they end up closing. But at this point, I would start off range bound. All right. And also, usually you get a good indication tomorrow in terms of how the market digested the information. Looking at the bonds also reaction to the downside. So they first popped pretty good, and then they were way down, and now we are pretty much just holding in that range. A little bit off the high, so yields kicking up a little bit, but we'll see how the whole rate structure here changes going into the tomorrow's trading. But I'll start off range bound on the bonds as well. I don't see a big directional move going on right now, so there's more reaction to the news. And I think after they digest it, we'll see tomorrow if the market's going to be a good mood or not. Uh, the Nasdaq also pretty violent, pretty wild, I have to say. They were back and forth like crazy. Also pretty good gap closure going on there. Not quite as tough as the ES, but they took it quite a bit lower. So if you look at this guy, that was gnarly for a bit. So they were down here, close half the gap, but not the whole one. Then now they went right up here to that 540s, right at the session highs, and backed off from there. So we'll see where they end up. At this point, starting off range bound, I'm watching these lower edges, the 370 up to the 400s here. If these comes out, we may have to start on the short side. Otherwise, we'll start off range bound. And for some reason, if they take out this area, the 550s, I may be on the long side of this going into the overnight. So we'll see. At this point, they're pretty violent swings going on, but look at that. They ran it right up here after the session highs, and then now they're backing off from there. Pretty crazy. So far, yes, that one trade early on this morning for 84 bucks. That was like the one and done kind of a trade. That's one thing I took. I did not opt to trade it. That was this guy on the way down, that early weakness trade. I got a nice short trade in there, got out at the lower end of the range, and a nice one and done kind of a trade. So that was the only trade I took today. This stuff here today, I opted not to trade it. It's just a recipe, at least for myself, to get knocked around and give up a bunch of money. It's difficult. It's not a steady direction. It's whipsawing back and forth. So no matter how you try to do it, you can take a shitty short trade and be good, and you can take a shitty long trade and be good, or you can just keep getting caught every time. So I opt not to do it. A good setup here at the short at 550, short setup right there. That would have been a potential trade, but this is like a V top. You had to be just stepping in front of that and hoping for the best. And if they ran it high, they would have just run you over. So starting off range bound on the ES and Nasdaq, let's see how they end up actually closing. And then finally, oil and gold. Gold had a pretty violent reaction. Look at that. They were the big reaction to the downside early on, straight back up, then the hard run down, and they're kind of holding on, back, drifting back to the mean. So they're not really moving a whole lot, but they directionally, but they are whipsawing pretty good. And that sell-off, after this, the K period took it higher. The little retracement them back down again. That would have been that was a pretty good move. That was definitely a tradable move. But they took out that 36.95s. Now they're holding above it. So if they can hold above it, we have pretty good shape to get trade back up again. If they start trading below that 36.95, 96 level, looking for a move down at that point. But this whole thing, this whole sell-off here after they ran it higher, if you can get on that one, you'll be in good shape. But you never know how it's going to go. Buying it against the mean would have been not a completely off the chart kind of a trade, but it's difficult. After the fact, it's easy to say, but these are whipping around pretty hard, so very difficult to do anything good here. It's just too volatile. And on oil, not big reaction on oil. I wasn't expecting anything there either. We're going to be rolling to the October expiration X25 after today's trading, so watch for that. But that's about it. So I haven't traded oil or gold. The only trade I took was early on the Nasdaq, one and done, and I left it at that. So, and I probably saved some money by not trying to trade this. This was pretty gnarly. These reactions back and forth. The good news is, in the bigger picture, is that at least we're not seeing the market absolutely coming apart here. I guess he managed at least that. So we'll take that. Alrighty, we'll leave it there. I'll see you back bright and early in the morning. Yes, have a good evening. Later.